In a classroom, a gray-haired woman with glasses faces a circle of children. Several kids raise their hands, and she calls on one. Later, she interviews in front of a mural of an underwater scene.
I love imparting enthusiasm, knowledge, purpose. You as a student are responsible for being a steward, taking care of the environment, taking care of nature, understanding your role in it, your relationship.
A woman with sandy hair interviews in front of a bookshelf. A boy uses a crayon to make marks on a paper plate of soil samples.
It's really neat to see that enthusiasm build and to be able to take a kid who totally doesn't know anything about science, just to absolutely totally be able to open up new worlds to them.
A girl uses a classroom computer to research and write down facts about Crater Lake.
We're throwing content at them, but it may not always stick. We're just planting the seeds of interest that hopefully blossom over time.
Paired up at desks, kids pick through tinfoil trays full of leaf litter and soil.
Nobody can come to my class and say they're bored. There's just no way. You know, it is so interactive. It can be chaotic, but you can see people really getting into it and really loving science, and that's what I want. I want them to develop the passion that I have for it.
A brunette with a pixie cut, a blonde woman, the sandy-haired woman, and the gray-haired woman all interview.
My name is Lisa Holt-Taylor.
My name is Kelsey Knudsen.
Catherine Kirschner.
My name is Kelsey Chalker, and I teach 4th, 5th, 6th grade at Denali Montessori in Anchorage, Alaska.
Kelsey Knudsen.
I'm a social studies and geography teacher in Phoenix, Arizona.
Catherine.
I'm a middle school teacher in Fairbanks, Alaska.
Lisa.
And I work at Boyd E. Smith Elementary in Milford, Ohio. And I teach 3rd grade science and social studies.
So this course will get me very re-enthused to do a better job of teaching my 6th graders the curriculum about Kenai Fjords.
A view glides across an inlet dotted with floating ice chunks. A flock of birds swirls above a steep cliff covered in vegetation. Seabirds with dark backs and white chests hop off stained rocks. An otter gnaws on something as it floats in the water.
Intertidal zones, seabirds, mammals. I want them to get excited about science.
Teachers in life jackets and rain gear climb out of a small boat onto a larger one. Inside, they examine a sea worm with tweezers.
One thing I really hope to get is actual hands-on research experience, actually getting out there, meeting the scientists, working with them, actually going out and plotting out the transects, doing the counts, things along those lines. Those are genuine types of personal experiences I can then take back to my students in the classroom and really put a personal twist on the things that I'm actually talking about and trying to teach and communicate to my students.
On a misty shoreline, the teachers plot out squares along a measuring tape and take notes. They trek across jagged rocks as a snow-capped cliff looms in the distance.
I was looking actually for a workshop in which it was very hands-on, experiential type of workshop. I'd like to stress like inquiry within the classroom.
Lisa counts small pebbles in the palm of her hand. A large chunk of ice bobs in a fjord under a blue sky, and the teachers paddle kayaks around the edge of a glacier. On a gravelly beach, they touch a stranded piece of ice.
I really want to turn kids on to the natural world and to gain further responsibility for the natural world and to have a desire to explore the natural world. And I can't force that on them. I really need to show it to them and kind of bring what I experience and what I see, and when I explore and hike and travel and do workshops like these, I can bring true excitement into the classroom.
The teachers haul gear from the small boat onto the ship. On the ship's deck, a bearded man points around the fjord as the gathered teachers listen to him. Lisa climbs into a kayak and joins other teachers kayaking across the turquoise water. They pass the large icy shelf of the glacier jutting into the fjord.
The experience I had is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I have never been to Alaska before and just had never experienced glaciers. And so I always look for ways in which I can get children to connect with the environment. Well, this was my connection when I actually got to go out and firsthand see the research is happening, and to think that all that is actually going into real research instead of just some like fictional type activity.
In a swampy valley, the researchers lay out more measuring tape. They use a circular tool to dig out soil cores. Two teachers reach into a mud puddle to catch something wriggling in the murky water. Later, they show samples to each other as they sit cross-legged on the rocks. A measuring tape stretches across a vast hill of round stones.
So it was really cool to see the scientists and really connect with the scientists. And you can see the different studies that were happening, all 3 or 4 at the same time, and the data they had to collect. and how hard it was to collect that data as the weather didn't quite cooperate.
Lisa grins in her rain gear. Kelsey Chalker leans over a map as a researcher points to it. The teachers climb over wet, mossy rocks, and measuring tape slides over barnacle-encrusted stones.
I thought we were just going to meet with scientists and they were going to be doing lectures on board and everything. Little did I know I was going to be out crawling around on rocks, pulling, tapes through these eye bolts. And actually, a couple of them actually let me take down the data and do our own observations. So, I was out there. I was knee-deep in the water and the muck and the mud and the mussels and the kelp and everything, and it was great.
She writes notes on a clipboard in the rain. In a room decorated with whale silhouettes and skeletons, two researchers display a map of Alaska. On a rocky hillside, a man in glasses addresses the teachers in bright orange and yellow rain gear. They use sample sheets with pictures on them to identify things on the rocks at their feet.
I think when you teach science in a classroom, having been with researchers who are doing the methodology, where the protocol, the laying out of the quadrants, the patience it takes to collect specimens, to identify them back at on the boat at night.
They use calipers to measure samples and sort them from a bin into bags. The researchers laugh. A man pulls a tiny speck off a green leaf.
Just that methodology, and there's some students who like that detailed focus, and that is important. What is science? How is science done?
Catherine lets a worm wriggle from her hand. The bearded man gestures with his hands as the teachers sit around the room with him. A screen displays a close-up photo of a sample, and a teacher photographs it. Kelsey Chalker finishes interviewing by the underwater mural.
What are the results of collecting these specimens? And we can teach that. I can show students what that research actually looks out in their backyard.
Kelsey Knutson labels whale sketches, then helps another teacher over a pile of loose stones. One teacher gives another a piggyback through flowing water as snow-covered mountains stretch into the distance. A view from the front of a kayak shows the bow cutting through the water past jagged ice.
I think all teachers are better at what they do when they continue to learn and push themselves outside of comfort zones or experience new things or be students themselves, so they can really understand if their curriculum is robust enough, if their curriculum is relating to real-world events, if their curriculum is interesting.
The team puts their hands in, then lifts them high. In a lab, the teachers watch researchers turn a bin of water black. In a pie plate, a diorama has gravel on one side and dyed oily water on the other, with a barrier of cotton balls between them.
I'll definitely go back and follow the hands-on curriculum. For example, we got hands-on oil spill curriculum, and to show them exactly what happened in the oil spill. They need to see that, then actually set up an oil spill, and then how that impacts the environment. So it just reminds you to get all their senses involved, get their hearts involved, get them to feel how it impacted humans as well as animals.
From the ship, the teachers watch birds land on the water near fishing boats. A researcher kneels on the shore in the pouring rain and jots down notes. A line of teachers and researchers smile and nod. Catherine interviews outside in the mist.
Courses like this just absolutely totally rejuvenate me. This is kind of now I've got something. I'm enthused about science. I'm enthused about nature. I can go back to my kids and, I've got, a fresh new energy.
It's wonderful to get students out of the classroom. Well, teachers have to get out of the classroom in order for us to keep that kind of cycle going. So it's just an excellent opportunity.
Teachers scramble over rocks along the coast, then sit on a ledge by a researcher and check measurements. A teacher crouches on mossy stones at the water's edge and picks something up. The group fills notebooks as a man in glasses addresses them.
Courses like this make me really grow as a teacher, and that's why I keep seeking these type out. When I was growing up, there was never any connection from the classroom to real life, and this is it, working with the scientists.
I do really desire to have a strong unit on the national parks.
The mirror still surface of a fjord reflects the white glacier at its edge. The teachers watch from the ship as a section of ice collapses, crashing into the water. The double-decker boat floats amidst a field of ice.
I think that out of everywhere I've been, and I've traveled a fair amount, the one thing that stands out about the United States that I find a lot of pride in is our preserved lands. And just the magnitude of beautiful lands we have that are accessible to people. I want to develop a unit where kids learn that that is an incredible asset to our country. It's also an incredible responsibility that will soon become theirs.
Catherine interviews by a bookshelf. The researcher's boat moves across dark blue water towards snow-capped cliffs.
I hope there will always be protected lands for people to visit and to enjoy and to appreciate and to learn from.
Lisa smiles. She watches a screen displaying video footage from a microscope. A researcher moves the microscope over a clump of seaweed. Kelsey takes notes, wearing a bright knitted cap.
I hope to turn kids onto science. That's really my main goal, is to turn them on. They're going to be our new scientists, our new engineers of the future, and I want them to develop the passion for learning and for science that I have.
A researcher adjusts brightly colored measuring tape. A small boat moves past a giant cruise ship in a fjord. A crowd of people stand on deck to see a glacier in the bright sunlight. A National Park Service member speaks into a microphone on a tour boat.
Scientists, fishermen, the local people, tourists, we're all connected. It all works together, and the more people are informed, it will work together in a more responsible way.
On the rainy shore, a teacher touches soft white slime on a rock. A bin of dyed black water swirls under toy boats. A woman blows the boats around with a hairdryer. A researcher picks through clumps of pebbles, and another checks a clipboard amidst a grid of tape. A teacher stands beside a cliff with a layer of dark stone running horizontally through it.
It's connecting to real-world experiences, like the Exxon Valdez oil spill. I mean, that's something that caused a remarkable amount of harm, and kids need to be aware of, you know, how much work goes into preventing that, and then how many years of work goes into just the aftermath and how it's continual. And it's sort of like passing the baton, you know. Eventually, they're going to be taking over for us and maintaining this planet. And I want our natural parks to remain as beautiful and accessible.
Kelsey Knutson interviews. Footage from a kayak shows other teachers paddling through slushy water to the glacier's edge, where the ice is dozens of feet thick.
And so I feel like it's my duty as a teacher to give as much information as possible, but mostly turn on the light bulb for them to want to go explore it themselves.
Text: the Kenai Fjords Floating Teacher Workshop was made possible through the cooperation of the following partners: Alaska Geographic, the National Park Service, Gulf Watch Alaska, USGS Science for a Changing World, and the Prince William Sound Regional Citizens Advisory Council. Special thanks to the scientists: Heather Coletti, Dan Essler, Ben Weitzman, Brian Robinson, Katya Moknik, and Amy Dowling. Video by Chelsea Grabelny and Jim Pfeifenberger.